Welcome back, everybody. I'm Chad, and this week we're working through an alignment issue on the 64 Pontiac Bonneville. Brand new parts out of the box, and we have a problem. And it definitely had me scratching my head a little bit, but I think you'll see by the end of this video, we're able to turn that around and get it fixed. And we shouldn't have a toe-in issue anymore. So anyway, let's get into it. As I get the inner tie rod, located on the lathe and the forge jaw and get that dialed in, I can take a moment to kind of explain what's going on. And the long and short of it is that the tie rods are too long. I bought them, I'll show on the screen in a second. I bought a reputable kit, and yeah, they're just too long. So I went to do a quick test fit, and they were so long that completely bottomed out on both adjusters. It was still toe in pretty significantly. Little research, and I found that apparently other people have had this problem. It's a common aftermarket issue where the parts just come in too long. The problem is compounded by the fact that the part's too long, but the threads aren't long enough to shorten it. So that's what we're working on today. Is we're going to turn down the thread major diameter and give it another ½ inch or so of length, and also trim down about 1.25 inches off of each of the inner tie rods. So I've got my indicator set up, and I'm dialing this in, admittedly showing my lack of practice on a forge jaw lately. This was a little precarious just because of the offset of the tie rod, so the imbalance. I did run it pretty slowly, and it cut okay. I also had to remove the handle from the quick change tool post, and make sure that the slide was over to the left far enough that it had room to swing. But ultimately, yeah, as you'll see in a moment, things went fine, and I did eventually get it indicated in. I'll show that here. Making sure that I've got enough clearance to finish my cut, and then zeroing out my cut path, my end position. So did this in a few passes. It won't make you watch every single one, but ultimately turning this down to the major diameter and double checking that so we can dial it in. Took pretty light cuts, and I also ran this pretty slow, like I mentioned, with the imbalance, but ultimately it worked really well. So we're off. We're just going to run the die by hand with a handle. So I've got my baking sheet there to catch all of the lubricant and chips. Try to keep the mess to a minimum, but this actually cut phenomenally well. So this is 11/16 18 left-hand thread. Not a common size by any means. Thankfully, I was able to find a die from MSC. Wasn't even that expensive. It wasn't import, but this worked out just fine. So we're getting it set up here in my cute little red vise. It's quickly becoming my favorite vise. The swivel and I like it a lot. Now that we're cut to length, we'll step into the other room. Quick deburr on the belt sander and the wire wheel, just to make sure we don't leave any razor blades. And then where that thread ends, make sure everything is hand safe. The last thing I want to do is get a slice on my fingers, but easy enough. And with that, now it's time to just do a quick reassembly. Inner tie rod, outer tie rod, and then all the bits and bobs. I wish I worked this fast. It'd be really nice to get stuff done at this kind of pace. But at this point, we are ready for a quick reassembly. So let's get into that. So first things first, I'm going to do a quick unboxing from Send Cut Send. I'm sure that I've mentioned them on my channel, you know, every video I've ever made, but they're my favorite. You can order parts, you don't have to talk to people, and they show up. It's great. This is an alignment tool. That way I can have something to measure basically front and rear, and I'll show it installed in just a moment, but this is going to help with the course alignment that we're going to do today to make sure that the parts fit like they should. And just like that, we now have something we can use. I'll rotate it down in a second, but a good reference to use to measure left to right and set an alignment. All right, so starting out, I turned the wheel lock to lock and then came back to center. So the pitman arm should be roughly centered, and then I'm gonna come in and very coarsely align the front on both sides just to basically track straight, and then I'll set toe. So this will be really close. And I'm doing this as a first pass just to make sure that I got the narrowing width part right. I'm not gonna set an alignment with it at full droop. We'll come back later and we'll get it on stands and we'll do this a little better, but this is just first draft. Make sure we're close and make sure that I can go ahead and snug down all of the suspension parts. So let's do some adjusting. All right, so I've got the laser set up, it's auto leveling. I'm just kissing on the edge of the drum, and then at the rear, similarly, if I can show it or not, should be on a little outside. We'll tweak that just slightly. Whoop, that's it, that's not tweaking. All right, see if I got that a little closer. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So basically getting it to where, right now we're setting it, I think I already said it, we're setting it to true parallel so that this should be tracking straight. And I've got this measuring the same front to back. Very close to it. So now, feeling pretty good about it, now we'll check toe. So I'll bring the camera in close and we'll check a look at that. So we're measuring about 3/16 total toe in at this dimension. I think this is an 18-inch bar. So probably just a touch high. I wonder if that's a track width difference front to rear, but again, this is very preliminary. We'll redo this later. So the emphasis that I want to make is that we have plenty of adjustment. I'm gonna spin this around just to look, and then I'll put it back. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Before we were very literally bottomed out and we were still toe out. So this has corrected the issue. Should put that anywhere. All right, good stuff. at this point, it's time to do a quick cleanup of the lathe work area, and I thought I could, give you something to look at while I ramble a little bit. It's really strange to me that these parts came in, so far off from what they should be, and it's not like I mixed and matched a bunch of parts. I bought a kit, a complete high quality kit, and this is an issue. So it's things like this that don't give you great confidence in the parts industry. Thankfully, this wasn't an insurmountable problem. Like, we were able to get through it. The alignment's going to work fine, and we will do a finer alignment as we get a little farther along. We get the car down on its wheels and tires, and we'll dial this in a little bit. And at that point, I'll be able to at least check camber and we'll get this very, very close. Most tire wear issues show up if you're anywhere close to a good alignment. Wear issues aren't going to show up for several hundred miles. So this will be plenty enough to do some shakedown miles, make sure that everything's good, and then take it and get it aligned by competent alignment people, I guess. Anyway, really good progress this week. This is the one part that I thought was worth sharing, but I'm chipping away at it. And then I've got a few other projects in the mix that I want to bring out in the next couple weeks, and hopefully have some more videos to share. So if you stuck around this far, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.